What's up, everybody? I'm here. I'm about to go watch Luther, The Fallen Son. I know it comes out on Netflix, but I'm really excited to see it because I do want to review it. So, have you see it? There you go. Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Jason Freeman. I'd like to welcome you all to my channel. In this video, I review the film Luther, The Fallen Son, starring Idris Elba, Cynthia Erivo, and Andy Serkis. I'm going to tell you what I liked about the film. I'm going to tell you what I didn't really like about the film. Then I'm going to tell you why I think you should see the film or just skip it. Now, at any point, feel free to click the notification bell or subscribe to my channel to get more content. So, without further ado, let's begin. Now, I believe the film is supposed to be taking place several months to maybe a year after the end of season 5 of Luther. Now, the reason I say this is because if you've seen the trailer, you know Luther is in prison. So at the end of season 5, a little bit of a spoiler, Luther is arrested. And then, of course, the idea is that he would go to prison after that. And so, again, we see him in prison. And so the reason, again, I think it's a couple months to a year after the end of season 5 is because you have to take into account the time for a trial. Where he gets convicted. Again, you see him, he's in the prison in the trailer. And then because he's in such peril in the prison, being a former police officer, you would assume that had he been there much longer, he would have been killed or traumatized in some significant way, more so than what we see in the film. So what do I like about the film? Well, first and foremost, the thing I like most about the film is the action. So this is very much an action film. They make a point to have these scenes of a lot, of cars, cars flipping and all kind of crazy stuff happening. So it's very much as an action film. And there's one scene in particular where you can see it in the trailer, where he's getting out of prison. And you see all this kind of chaos ensuing. And that was actually a well-done action sequence. So it very much was something that grabs you and you can't take your eyes off that scene. And so you have these sequences throughout the movie of these kind of action scenes, including at the very end as well. And so if I was going to label this movie as anything, I would say that it is very much of an action film, even more so than a detective film. And again, while I do say this is an action film, there is a mystery that is compelling. And so they set it up at the very beginning in the same way, very similar to what we saw in the TV show. So you have this mystery being set up. You kind of don't really know who the people are, what's going on. Something happens, and then you have to kind of see it unravel or unfold as the film or the show, in the case of the previous seasons, went forward. And so very much there is a compelling mystery. Now, I will say there's not as much good as a payoff as I would have liked with the end of it. But when you're in the mystery, when you're trying to figure out what's going on, I found that very compelling, and I was very much locked in that situation. Now, the thing I probably liked the most about the film, even more so than even the action and the mystery, is John Luther himself. Now, going back to season 1 of the series Luther, I found Luther to be a very fascinating character. You got this large guy, Black British dude, who is strong and tough, brilliant, very much this very complicated figure. So in many ways, a character like you don't really see very much in kind of cinema. So I think about someone like John Shaft, so John Shaft is, he's a smart guy, he's big and tough, but he also has that kind of smoothness and that coolness. And Luther doesn't have that. Luther is a much more layered guy, and so he has that that insecurity, that I don't know, there's something kind of off with him, which I found really appealing. And so you see that very much in this film as well. The same Luther that you saw in the series, he's in the film. All right, so that's it for what I liked. So what didn't I like? And this is very disappointing for me to say, because I was really looking forward to this character. I did not like Andy Serkis as the villain. So Andy Serkis, as the main villain in this film, is very much over the top. He very much reminds me of like the Joker, this kind of very clownish, this very kind of crazy, weird character. But not like the Heath Ledger or Joaquin Phoenix Joker, very much the Cesar Romero Joker, the one from the old 1960s. This kind of very kind of clownish, over the top type bad guy. And I am not like feeling it. In many ways, Serkis is like a Bond villain. He's basically a Bond villain. He's this over the top, crazy, maniacal, powerful. I mean, he has a lot of power in the film, almost like cartoonishly amount of power. But this kind of over the top, like Bond villain-esque type figure.
Good morning, my golden retrievers. What kind of havoc shall the Carver Media Group create in the world today? News.
Floods in Pakistan, riots in Paris, and a plane crash in California.
Excellent. Mr. Jones, are we ready to release our new software?
Yes, sir. As requested, it's full of bugs, which means people will be forced to upgrade for years.
Outstanding. Mr. Wallace, call the president. Tell him if he doesn't sign the bill lowering the cable rates, we'll release the video of him with a cheerleader in the Chicago motel room.
Inspired, sir.
And after he signs the bill, release the tape anyway.
And there would just be these scenes where, and this kind of goes to something else, I'm going to critique it. I laughed at the villain, but not like laughed at something like he was funny, laughed at he's silly. He's a very silly villain. So I did not care for Andy Serkis as the villain at all. And honestly, the worst thing about the film is the writing. The writing is just weak, almost like, again, cartoonish almost. There's a weird retcon at the very beginning, and this might be in spoiler territory, but at the end of season 5, I felt like we knew why he was about to go to jail. Like, he's done a lot of stuff. I love Luther. He's one of those guys who's technically kind of an anti-hero in that he commits crimes. He's committed multiple crimes in the series that he should, based on the law, he should be locked up for, based on if he's discovered. And so to me, it's pretty obvious why he would go to prison at the end of season 5. That being said, there's a weird retcon where it's somehow related to Andy Serkis. Which, again, it's just like, you didn't have to do that. They wanted to make it personal, I guess, between Andy Serkis and him. And it's like, no, like, Luther catches criminals. That's what he does. Andy Serkis is a criminal, a psycho criminal. That's all you need. But at the end, I think the writers is just kind of one of those things. Somebody had this idea in the rooms, like, I got this idea. How about we do this thing? And instead of someone saying, no, that's silly, that's stupid, don't do that. They're like, yeah, that's awesome. And so we end up with this weird retcon of why Luther's in prison. It's not just that. It's just some of the stuff, the choices that they make throughout the movie just don't make any sense at all. Like, again, I laughed at stuff. I'm like, no, they're not doing that. That's stupid. And they did it. And Cynthia Erivo is okay. I definitely know she was a big name they putting in this film. So when I was looking at the trailer, and I was like, oh yeah, it's Cynthia Erivo. But honestly, her acting, I haven't seen her in pretty much anything. She's not an actress that I will be definitely watching her other stuff to kind of see how she is an actress. But in this particular film, she's not a very strong actress, especially up against Idris Elba, who's amazing. He's been doing this character for years now, so he's amazing as Luther. Her acting or kind of lack of, I don't know, something about this character, it just isn't working. And so again, she's just okay. I wouldn't say bad. So I would say bad. Bad is pretty strong, but it's just not. She doesn't do much. Like, it's not. I'm not sure if it's the writing, but even when she is given stuff, it doesn't seem to work. So she's there. She's okay, but definitely not a high point of the film. So should you see this film or just skip it? Well, I think you should see it on Netflix. This film, even though I went to the movie theater, is not worth going to the theater to watch. The writing is bad. Andy Serkis is bad. Idris is great, but that's kind of the high point. And with the action scenes, that would be the only thing that would make me lean towards, say, go see it in the theater. But there's not enough of it in the film to make it worth, spending a ticket on it. So what I mean by this is, for example, in the show Hawkeye, which I liked Hawkeye. I know some people don't like the MCU shows or whatever. I like WandaVision. I liked Hawkeye. I like Renner. That's a big thing with that one. And so there's this one very intense car chase scene in that series. And honestly, if it was on the big screen, that would have been an amazing scene to see on the big screen, where it's kind of like this one shot, and they're going here and there, and there's explosions, all kind of stuff. It really would work for the big screen. That being said, I don't think that Hawkeye should have been a movie on the big screen just because of that one scene. And so, I just don't think it's enough. And so, same thing with this. There are action scenes throughout the film, but there is just not enough of it to make it worthwhile to spend money to go to the film. Now, obviously, I'm doing this for the review. I'm doing a review. I saw it in the theaters. I want to see it early enough before it comes out on Netflix. But honestly, for the average person, just general person, there's no reason to see this in the theaters. So yeah, I'll just wait to see it on Netflix. Watch it. It's fun. It reminds me of Fast and the Furious movies are. Like, I haven't really watched them, but it went from being a series about racing to being this almost like superhero, like crazy over the top type deal. And that's very much how this film feels. Like, you have this detective show, really season 1 and season 2 detective show, and now it's this action thing. It's like almost like the Fast and the Furious. And so, yeah, so if you're into that, if you're into just explosions and all kind of craziness, and there's that in there, watch it for that. Don't watch it for the investigation. Don't watch it for the mystery. I mean, that's there, but it's more for the action. This is an action movie, and they're very much leaning into that. Now, if you found this review interesting and or informative, please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video. And if you have any questions about Luther, the Fallen Son, or the Luther series in general, please leave those questions in the comment section below. Thank you all for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.